Good evening, audience. This is Deval Gupta here, member of our investment management team at Earthveda. Welcome you all for the sixth webinar on a real estate investments. Our topic for today's webinar is Real Estate Fund Cracking Intrinsic Value in Housing. Let me introduce to our two speakers for the today's webinar, Mr. Harish Gagwani. He is a senior investment manager at Earthveda. He was an ex-AVP of UTI and has 30 plus years of rich experience in real estate development and project management. Mr. Rajiv Sarauji. Mr. Rajiv Sarauji is a Earthveda. He is a chartered accountant and a certified business valuer with over 8 years of rich experience in real estate finance and appraising. While Mr. Harish Gagwani will be talking through us how private equity has evolved in middle income housing, real estate glory days versus present market conditions, investment managers' outlook on middle income housing. Mr. Rajiv Saraugi will be discussing on typical deal flow in PE, investment process followed by PE for housing and real estate projects, various stages from investment to disinvestment in a real estate project, and value creation for developers vis-a-vis fund. Now I would like to hand over the forum to Mr. Harish Gagwani and Mr. Rajiv to take it forward.
Thank you, Deval. Good evening, friends, and welcome on webinar. Today, we'll be sharing our knowledge on real estate and fund participation with developer on housing sector. Basically, everybody knows what real estate is, but still I would like to define real estate. Real estate means piece of land, including air and ground below of any building and structure. Normally, real estate development is taking place in various sectors, which mall, hospitality, office, entertainment, and majorly into residential. Most of the development is in residential, as all of us know, need at least one house to live. Though we had been talking real estate as an industry, but real estate has not been recognized as an industry, even though it contributes majority of GDP growth and employment generation of the country. It could not achieve the status of industry because of corporate governance and transparency. Probably PE funds may help in value creation, not only in financing the project by participating in risk and improving on system processes, thereby greater transparency. Let us now come to the topic and have some outlook on private equity, how involved in middle income housing. We are aware that real estate in earlier days was financed in unstructured manner. Only post-liberalization and industrial policies, financial policies, and dramatic reforms in real estate has witnessed growth in this sector and value appreciation over time. Basically, I have some market scenario post 2005, how the real estate has created a value appreciation in real estate. Real estate in private equity preferred funding option to the housing project, along with other some sources such as banks, equity market, non-banking financial companies, and user advance. Prominent form of funding which truly participate in project is along with the developer. This enables project execution and also absorbs risk related to the typical real estate projects. Real estate industries has been mixed bag while decoding the returns delivered by sector. This is based on real estate analysis done by some IPC, and real estate investment has largely in the money at the times of exit. However, returns have been depressed by global recessionary trend, particularly in year 2008-2009, particularly in year 2009 and 10. Coming to next topic of investment, how the real estate investment changed from the glory days to present market condition. Earlier, people used to invest in land acquisition. Earlier, people used to invest in land acquisition through part payments or joint development, wherein they don't need to make full payments to the landowners. People used to seek the approval and launch the project, thereby to pay to the landowners. During those glory days, even accessibility and availability of project finance was very easy for the project. So completing the project, and there was no proper monitoring system, thereby the funds can be utilized for other projects as well as for further land acquisition. As well as there had been surplus fund that is being paid down payment to buy and create additional land banks. In present market scenario, all the real estate developers are trying to create a land bank without proper finance in place. This creates a lot of turmoil in the market in terms of holding back the lands and distress sell and those kind of things. In order to get the things in proper shape and proper finance, P plays a vital role, and over a period of time even construction finance has become difficult to achieve. So some cases P helps in also completing the project and achieving the target time period of the project. We have been discussing on residential segment, and we have created one pyramid. If you can look at our outlook on the middle income housing, wherein if you look at the chart and wherein we have created characteristics of various social economic things, and try to establish that mid income in the residential segment is the most valuable, and it covers the 50% of the total housing. We find that most of the tier 2, tier 3 cities have been developing on the basis of industrialization and increase in population. There has been migration of the population due to industrialization of tier 2, tier 3 cities, as well as the larger families are becoming nuclear families, so thereby creating a demand for smaller flats in mid-income segment. This particular slide talks about the mid-income and the socio-economic scenario at each level of the market. Now coming to the returns from the investments that are being done in middle income, we have found that most of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, the lands cost very low, and the volumes are not market driven but value driven, volume driven, and customers, it is also and customer oriented, less speculative. There is wide gap in demand and supply of units because of people migrating from tier 1 cities for the better employment to tier 2 and tier 3 cities in terms of industrialization of those cities. Obviously now developers also realize the value that they can create by doing value engineering to their project and trying to keep duration short to achieve the target return of north of 25%. We have seen every city and town has endless number of new REITs surfaced, having traded their lands and buildings for unprecedented returns. Now further, I would like to hand over this to Mr. Rajiv, who will take you to further on this.
Thank you, Harish, for giving us an interesting insight. Now, within next few minutes, Rajiv, will take you through typical deal flow in a private equity, investment processes that are being followed by a private equity, various stages from investment to disinvestment for a real estate project, and how does it creates value for fund vis-a-vis developers. To start with, how does a typical deal flows in a private equity? Now friends, there are various sources through which an investment opportunity comes to a investment manager. It's with the help of third-party brokers. There are direct approaches. Investment bankers are there. Principal himself is having some contacts, and there are third-party real estate investors in the market. Now, after receiving those deals, first level filtration is done by the investment managers, and if the deal passes through that first level filtration, NDA gets executed. NDA means non-disclosure agreements. Thereafter, it goes to second level filtration, where detailed due diligence happens in terms of technical due diligence, legal due diligence, and financial due diligence. Now here it becomes very critical that proposals get outrightly rejected as they don't meet the basic criteria of a private equity. Friends, it becomes very important to see what is the size of the deal. There are various funds in the market with different appetites and different sector focus. So one has to reach a fund which has that appetite to invest that much amount in the deal. Second is financial feasibility. Everyone has their own expected returns on the capital. Sometimes reputation becomes a very critical factor. Local reputation is very much important to create value in a deal. There are credit history cases which leads to rejection. Nowadays CIBIL is there, so one can access about the credit history, and that needs to be taken care of. Thereafter, if all these things are adhered to and filtered, term sheet gets executed, negotiation happens, and finally it reaches to the stage of documentation. Therein shareholders agreement, share subscription agreement, and other documents takes place, and finally disbursement is done. Low conversion ratio is largely because of poor corporate governance, valuations are not up to the mark, and standards are not adhered to. So this is a typical deal flow in a private equity. Now we will discuss investment process that is being followed by a private equity in housing real estate project. Friends, this is divided into 5 stages. First comes sourcing of deal, second is assessment of a deal, third is due diligence, fourth investment committee, fifth is risk assessment, and finally monitoring. Now sourcing of deal. Existing networks are there. There are third-party brokers, investment bankers, and some deals directly comes on the table. Thereafter, assessment happens. Preliminary assessment is there, that is done by the investment managers, in which they calculate return on capital employed and IRRs, whether they match the basic criteria of the fund or not. If this return on capital employed and equity IRRs are meeting the benchmarks, then the deal is forwarded for in-depth due diligence. Now, third process, that is due diligence. Preliminary project feasibility study is undertaken. There is an in-house team which does all this due diligence. Help is also taken from outside vendors and IPCs to conduct detailed due diligence and feasibility studies. Comparative landscape and comparative transaction valuations. What highest and best possible use of that land is considered. Engineering and environmental feasibility studies are conducted to understand the FSI available, approvals required. Thereafter, it goes towards legal and taxation due diligence, wherein all those legal aspects and taxation aspects are taken care of. Scenario analysis is done to understand the worst case scenario and the best case scenario of the analysis. Best tax efficient practices are followed. Then it is taken to the investment committee, wherein the investment manager or fund manager presents it with the investment committee with a fact sheet. Investment committee consists of various prominent personalities from real estate sector, MD chairmans, and all those prominent people. Deal is reviewed twice in this investment committee. Summary fact sheet produced describes about the cost of land, construction cost, detailed analysis about the catchment areas, what are the local comparative rates quoted in those micro locations, landscape and locational advantage. All these things are discussed in detail, and finally, if the IC committee approves, then investment is undertaken. Thereafter, monitoring starts, wherein it becomes very critical to assess what is the risk involved and what are the processes followed to monitor the project. There are significant environmental issues which needs to be taken care of. Some title issues may be there which were subject to approval we have invested. Potential legal litigational risks are there. Tax issues are there which needs to be taken care of. Finally, it comes to portfolio diversification. So this is how a investment process is followed by a private equity for a real estate housing project. Now we will discuss what are the various stages from investment to disinvestment in a real estate project. It starts with identification of land by a developer. A developer conceptualizes a project. It may happen that he had made a part payment and signed the MOU with the landlord. He comes with the deal to the private equity player. Deal analysis is undertaken, wherein feasibility studies are done, due diligences are undertaken, and risk assessment happens. Further negotiations are made between the developer and the private equity in terms of revenue sharing, what are the exit clauses. Once these negotiations comes to a conclusion and some consensus has been developed, the land is acquired in the name of a SPV, that is a special purpose vehicle prepared for a particular project, wherein both the developer and equity holder has a share according to their capital invested or the sharing which is agreed between them. Thereafter, it comes to pre-construction approval and project launch, wherein NOC of various authorities is taken, submission of plans to municipal, architectural and local authorities, IOD and CC, that is commencement certificate, submission of revised plan if required for approval. After this, it comes towards project execution together with sales and marketing. Project execution is a very critical aspect which needs to be monitored. Along with the construction, marketing also starts so that internal accruals can take place. And finally, deal monitoring is done. Generally, PE players asks for monthly reports. Thereafter, it comes towards post-construction approval, wherein electrical, drainage, water connections are taken in place. OC comes in place and completion certificate is taken. Property tax assessment is done. Finally, it comes towards the exit, wherein private equity player exits with agreed and expected returns. Developer also exits along with the private equity as per the agreed sharing between both of them, and if there is any upside, that has been taken care of. So these are the various stages from investment to disinvestment in a real estate project. Now we will look at how does the value creation and value addition is done in with vis-a-vis developer and the fund. Firstly, we will look at how does this creates value for a developer. As we all know, developer is in this business for ages and he knows how to make money. So PE player is there to just organize him in a better manner so that expectations are achieved and good corporate governance practices can be adhered to. Management reporting is done in a better manner so that everyone is informed at each and every stage what is happening in the project, and information flows like a light to each and every stages of construction. MIS reports are generated as and when required. Cost and quality control measures are taken. Project gets completed within timelines. Proper transparency is maintained. It is seen that all those approvals which are taken, the construction happens as per those approvals, and professionalism comes in place. So finally, all these above mentioned steps helps in creating and adding to the profits. For a fund, foremost thing is to secure investors' capital. They also understand better innovative real estate practices, timely exits from the projects, and finally it is about returns to the investors. So by this is how value gets created and added to the developer vis-a-vis fund. Thank you, friends.
Steve and Harish for sharing such valuable information on the topic. Now the forum is open for the question and answer session. We have one question from Mr. Abhishek Mehta. He wants to know, isn't that the risk assessment done before it goes to investment committee? I would like to ask this question from Mr. Harish.
Hello. Good evening, Abhishek. Yes, we surely do risk assessment before and taking it to investment committee. And most of the risks are also, mitigated before, or process mitigation is finalized before taking it to investment committee.
We have one more question from Mr. Vishal Thakur. He wants to know how do you manage liquidity and align it to the maturity of the fund. Second, what happens to a fund if by any reason the project is not sold, and what is the valuation process and norms? I would like to ask this question from Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
Good evening. Good evening, Vishal. Good evening, Vishal. Interesting question. See, we generally look at the tenure of the project at the time of investment itself, and we enter into only those projects which we can get exited within that timelines. Yeah, I understand there are market delays which happens. So, but the best way to come out of the project is with the help of sale of flats. So that is the way we look at the project.
Next question from Miss Prajakta Patil. She wants to know what are the risks in the real estate investment. I want to ask this question from Mr. Harish Gagwani.
Good evening, Prajakta. Normally, this starts, we try to evaluate this starting from the land stage itself. There are kind of conversion risk, then developability risk, execution risk, political risk, and also change in development rules. All these are kind of a risk for the project. And normally we evaluate all the projects based on this. Hello.
Okay, we have one more question from Mr. Kumar Jetlia. He wants to know, have you started investing? I would like to ask this question to Mr. Rajiv.
Yes. Yes. Good question, Rajkumar. We are already looking at creating a pipeline, as we will be starting investment during due course of time.
From Mr. Rajkumar Jetlia only. He wants to do, how do you do a valuation of a deal? This question I would like to ask from Mr. Harish Gagwani. He wants to know, how do you do a valuation of a deal?
Basically, valuation of deal is based on the development potential, city, location of the land, the basic plans have been approved or not on this factor, and there are various methods of valuation based on which it has been evaluated.
Audience, we are running out of time, but we will try to take as much question as much it will be possible. We have one question from Mr. Girish Lakhotia. He wants to know, please elaborate on the basic information for pitching it to a private equity. I would like to ask this question with Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
Can you please repeat the question?
He wants to know. He wants to get elaborated on the basic information for pitching it to a private equity player.
Yeah. See, Girish, basically we require location, what is the land area, what are the land rates, what are the land rates going on in nearby location, expected selling rates, projected construction cost, and other cost of the project. And of course, the timelines for completion which is expected by the developer.
We have one more question from Mr. Partha Sarthi. He wants to know technical due diligence when the fund is coming as a partner. The risk of the developer is removed by this. How real estate tech the risk of the developer is removed by this. I would like to ask this question from Mr. Harish Gagwani.
Mr. Parthathi, good question, but primarily the risks are evaluated and the process of mitigation is understood. No risk can be removed by just identifying it. We need to understand the mitigation process. That would be the method by which I can answer.
We have one question from Ms. Prajakta Patil. She wants to know how real estate taxes are calculated. I want to ask this question to Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
See, Prajakta, you must have seen there is a latest amendment and which has finally concluded that real estate funds will be treated as a pass-through vehicle. Now, the tax treatment is similar. If you keep on invested for 3 years, it will be treated as a long-term capital gain, and the taxation will be as per the income tax law for long-term capital gains.
We have one question from Mr. Santosh Singh. He wants to know what is the basic requirement for valuation of the property for land and construction part and how it will be calculated. I want to ask this question to Mr. Harish Gagwani.
Good evening, Santosh. See, it is a long drawn process, but basic requirement for valuation, normally we look at the total extent of land, whether it is contiguous, what development is possible, whether title of the property is clear, what are the development possibility, and thereby we calculate the total valuation of the land. As far as construction is concerned, obviously there is an engineering practice of making the drawing and evaluating the actual quantity of those to their drawings and achieving based on the market rates, trying to evaluate the correct cost of the project.
Okay, we have one more question from Mr. Santosh Singh. He wants to know for purchase of land, what is the maximum funding may be available? I would like to ask this question to Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
See, Santosh, different funds have different deal sizes, but it basically depends upon what is the equity required by that project. We look at investment from our side anywhere between 10 to 20 crores. But if we are investing in the range of 10 to 20, and similar is also contributed by the developer, so the project size comes to anywhere between 100-150 crores.
We have one question from Mr. Rajkumar Jetlia. He wants to know what is the deal size are you targeting? I would like to ask this question to Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
Please come again.
Mr. Rajkumar Jetlia, he wants to know what is the deal size are you targeting?
See, Rajkumar, we are targeting a project in which equity from our side can go somewhere between 10 to 20 crores per project.
Mr. Parth Jain, he wants to know that does a PE player seek assured returns from the developer like it seek in other PE deals, something like a mixed return until project completion and divestment? Mr. Harish Gagwani, if you can just throw light on the question.
Yeah, there are always possibility, but then when we are trying to play as a pure equity player and we want to share all the risk, we would like to play like open, obviously keeping some minimum targeted returns that we achieve from the project.
Friends, we are running out of time, but we will try to take as much as question which will be possible. We have one more question from Mr. Partha Sathi, Sampat Kumar. It is how the delay from the government department are accounted in the project period. I would like to ask this question to Mr. Harish Gagwani.
Hello, Partha. Normally, we have proper records when we interact with government records. We normally submit an application with a proper acknowledgement to government department, and when government issues the approval, they also issue with proper documentation and dates. Normally, if you are counted for 3 months and it takes 6 months, automatically the 3 months accounts for the delay. And normally we try to cover this 3 months delay in execution if project is totally sold out. Thank you.
It's what is the typical IRR which are normally PE targets? I would like to ask this question to Mr. Rajiv Saraogi.
See, here it should be noted that private equity is the only one who participates along with the developer from the land acquisition stage, and also undertakes all the risk involved in a project. So while we are sharing all the risk involved in the project, we also like to share that upside. So basically, any private equity targets an return on investment somewhere in the range of 25 to 30%.
We have one question from Mr. Abhishek Mehta. Are tier 2 and tier 3 cities the next big area for the development? I would like to ask this question from Mr. Harish Gagwani. Mr. Abhishek Mehta, he wants to know that are the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities are the next big area for the development? I would.
Yes, Mr. Abhishek, I agree with you. Tier 2 and tier 3 cities are the next big areas for development. The primary reason is that most of the industrialization is being shifted and concentrated in this area.
Audience, we are unable to take any further questions. If you have any queries, you can always email us to, if you have any queries, feedbacks or any comments on the subject, you can email us on the email ID mentioned on the last PPT. Now I would like to sum up the whole seminar by saying that under the present market scenario, backing of entry or backing of a PE becomes critical for the smooth execution of a typical real estate project. It not only creates value for the developer partner, it also creates a value for a fund. Thank you, audience, for your overwhelming response. We look forward to see you in our next presentation. Thank you.